Welcome back to your Emotional Support Podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Rizzio, and this season we're helping working moms stop the guilt cycle, reclaim their worth, and move from juggling to thriving. Last week we talked about boundaries, how to say no without guilt, and stop running yourself into the ground. Today we're taking that conversation one step further because setting boundaries isn't just about saying no. It's about saying yes to the things that truly refill your cup. This episode is called Redefining Self-Care Beyond Bubble Baths and Target Runs. We're talking about the real meaning of self-care, the kind that nourishes your mind, your heart, and your energy. Not just the treat yourself kind, but the kind that changes how you live. We'll unpack why self-care gets such a bad reputation, the deeper layers of what it really means, and how to create a version of self-care that actually fits your life and fuels your self-worth. Let's start with this. Self-care has become a buzzword, and honestly, it's kind of lost its meaning. I really don't like the term self-care. Somewhere along the way, self-care got reduced to bubble baths, sheet masks, and solo Target runs, all of which are great, but they're not the full picture. Real self-care isn't just about escape, it's about sustenance. It's not about checking out from your life. It's about building a life you don't consistently need to escape from. And yet, for so many moms, self-care feels impossible because the second we try to take time for ourselves, that guilt creeps in. Shouldn't I be doing something more productive? My kids need me. My husband can't do it by himself. It's selfish to take time away. But here's the truth. You can't nurture others from an empty tank. We've heard this a million times. If you want to show up with patience, creativity, humor, and heart, you have to refill your own energy. And that means self-care isn't selfish. It's maintenance. Think of it like this. Your phone needs to be recharged daily. Why wouldn't you? So if we know we need it, why do we resist it so much? Here's a few reasons. We confuse self-care with self-indulgence. We've been taught that rest is lazy, that productivity equals worth, and that being consistently on is noble. We're stuck in survival mode. When your brain is juggling work, kids, life, it doesn't prioritize joy. It prioritizes survival, getting through the day. Also, we don't even know what recharges us anymore. Sometimes we've been in caretaker mode for so long, we forget what we like, right? We lose that piece of ourselves. Does that sound familiar? So the work here isn't just carving out time. It's remembering who you are when you're not in that caretaker mode. So my best friend, who also happens to be my cousin, we started planning these girls' weekends. We really both knew how important it was for us to kind of get away and have these kind of resets. At first, it was really rough. We felt guilty. I especially felt guilty. Our husbands were texting us all the time, like, how do you cook bagel bites in the oven? This and that. And like recapping how stressful it was for them at home, which then adds to the guilt. And so, but when we were there, and we could just kind of shut off our phones. My cousin was super good at this. She'd be like, just put your phone away. Right. And I would ignore it. And it just felt so good to be there and be present in the moment when it was just us. And we would, if we can't use one of our houses, we literally would go get an Airbnb somewhere and just make it a point to get away. And we do this all the time, at least a couple times a year. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But the more we do it, the more our husbands get used to it, the less they contact us, the more we come home feeling refreshed and ready to do it all again. At first, it was hard. It was very hard. The guilt crept in. Oh my gosh, what are things going to look like when I get home? That, would kind of be on our minds. But once we were there and we were there with each other and we both so much needed that time to just not be on and not be responsible, it is the best thing. And I would recommend it to anyone who can do it. It really taught me that self-care isn't about escaping motherhood. It's not about escaping, right? Although that is a bonus, but it's about reconnecting with you so you can return as a fuller version of yourself. When we go on these girls' weekends, we get back to who we were before we were mom, before we were wife, before we were all the things that we're required to be on a daily basis. And we reconnect with who we are. And that is the point of it. I highly recommend that. If you can't do something like that, figure something out in your world where you can take that time to reconnect with you. Don't forget about the self-worth journal prompts for moms. Grab it free on my website or in the show notes. Okay, so what is self-care? Let's redefine this once and for all. Self-care isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle choice. It's a change in your lifestyle. It's the combination of 4 key areas, and none of them require a bubble bath, unless you want one. So the first one is boundaries. Saying no when your plate is full. And this is what we talked about last week. So if you struggle with boundaries, go back to last week's episode, check it out. You need to protect your time, your energy, and your peace. And if you need help here, you can check out my freebie, How to Set Boundaries Like a Boss. It's available on my website. You also need rest, actual rest, not scrolling your phone or folding laundry while you relax, okay? Rest that restores your nervous system, lets your brain breathe. You also need to find joy. Find something that makes you laugh, makes you feel alive, that has zero purpose other than just pure delight, something that is just for you, because joy is medicine. And then learn how to give authentic yeses. Self-care is also about saying yes, but only to the things that fill you up. Yes to connection. Yes to creativity. Yes to quiet. Yes that fuels your spirit, not just your schedule. When you start defining self-care this way, it stops being an obligation and starts being a way of living. So here's the mindset shift that I want you to hold on to. Self-care is how I show love for myself and my people. Because when you take care of yourself, you're modeling something very powerful for your kids. That worth isn't earned by exhaustion. That rest isn't a reward, it's a right. If your kids started to be crabby and irritable, you would have them take a time out. Go do something else. Go do something that makes you happy, right? Why don't we do the same things to ourselves? When you're teaching these things to your kids, you're teaching them that they too can grow up to be adults who value their own peace and joy, especially for our little girls. Do you want them to grow up and feel like they have to be exhausted and doing all the time? No, we want them to value their own peace and their own boundaries. That is what is called generational healing. Okay, we need to put it into action. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today, it's this. Self-care is not what you do when everything else is done. It's what allows you to keep going. Whether it's a quiet morning coffee, a walk with music, or a weekend with your best friend, it all counts. Because when you fill yourself up, you overflow into everything and everyone around you. I tell you what, I got a lot easier to be around once I started taking these weekends for myself. And my husband just has to understand that I need this time to come back and be better for him, for our son, for myself, for everything. Okay? If you loved today's episode, share it with a fellow mom who needs the reminder that self-care isn't selfish, it's sacred. Until next time, give yourself permission to pause, recharge, and remember, you're not just surviving motherhood, you're reclaiming it. I am so glad you're here.